Hello. Brooke's just finishing up a bit of paperwork that we have to get done today. So I'm going to talk for a couple minutes. I'm just going to find my notes because I have a whole bunch of notes. That's not my notes. Where's my notes? All right. What a...
we woke up to snow this morning, and I'm sure many of you that are here on the island already woke up to it as well, and it already is gone. So it
Thank goodness.
Warmed up. It looked like Christmas this morning, and now it looks like April again.
My 5-year-old threw the biggest tantrum this morning because she was convinced that it was going to be a snow day, and she was so cross at me when I came out, and she was like, I was like, time to get dressed. She's like, why? I'm like, because it's got to go to school time. And she's like, I'm not going to school. It's a snow day. And she got so mad at me. It was a full-blown tantrum this morning. And yeah, it was not pleasant. I have been ignoring the weather today just because I do not want to deal with the snow. Brooke's been saying the S word all day. And so
I said Merry Christmas to her this morning when I picked her up, and she told me to go fly a kite.
Yeah.
In so many words.
Yep. So, yeah.
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 Okay. So today we are talking about the pros and cons of renting for a while before you buy.
Or do you buy right away?
Right.
Rent, buy.
Yeah, exactly. All those high fives. So pros and cons of both. We're going to kind of talk in and out. And if you're tuning in live here, feel free to punch in any questions on your keyboard.
Yep.
Otherwise, if you're watching this later on, you can always write to us directly through Facebook Messenger and ask questions. But
send us a text.
Yeah, send a text. Anything you like. There's so many forms of communication.
Yeah.
So
send us a WhatsApp. Don't send us a WhatsApp if you can help it. I forget that even exists, and I never answer it. It'll be like 6 months later. I'll be like, oh yeah, I have WhatsApp, and then I'll log in. And then we're going to talk about some different places around the island that you might be interested in settling, and maybe why those are good communities to settle in, what's something to consider if you're thinking about settling in different places, and why they might be good places for you. So, so here we are. It is 2:00 on Friday, April 24th. It's the last Friday of the month. It's supposed to be beautiful next week. Did you know?
thank goodness. Look, my seeds are just getting so high. I know it's too early to plant some stuff, but I want carrots in the ground next week. Yeah. That's it.
Yep. And carrots, peas, beets.
Yep. Hardy greens. You can get that spinach in.
Yep.
Chards. You got it. So yeah, my mind is like in work mode, but also in garden mode. All I want to do is play outside in my yard in the dirt with my dogs and garden. So yeah. I
hear you.
So
I have a pros and cons list.
Yeah, we did.
Of them kind of thing.
Do you want to go with pros first? The pros of renting before you buy your permanent home.
Okay. So let's talk about renting first. The pros and cons. If you're thinking about renting, then it could be nice because you can get to know a community first before you're actually like definitely living there. Exactly. As you may know, like buying, there is definitely a number of costs associated with buying, like your closing costs, your home inspection. If it's a rural property, you have your septic inspection. So when you're buying, like your home inspection right now is probably going to run you $600 to $700. A septic inspection again is going to run you about $700. Closing costs, you're looking at like $3,000 to $5,000. If you're registering a mortgage. All of those things are expensive. We've talked about like just buying a property can be a much more arduous process.
That's right. It can take months sometimes. It really can, realistically. And if you're on an expedited trail to relocate and then find your forever home, then buying something right off the bat is really not going to be an efficient use of your time or money.
Yeah, sometimes. If you're not picky, then maybe buying a home is okay.
And you know what? Here the reality is too, just on the con side of renting, we'll stick back to the pros, but some folks just want to have something for 5 years and then they'll level up. You know, like sometimes it's an entry level purchase for them and it doesn't mean it's their forever home for 30 years.
Or maybe they want to like buy an entry level home and keep it as a rental.
That's exactly. Yeah.
That
That's
could
what
be
I
a great
did.
option.
Totally. And you've done the same.
Yes, I
Totally.
have.
So more on the pros. So you talked about getting to know an area and building a community, which is always great. It tends to be a faster process. So it kind of gets your foot in the door rather than going through the whole buying process. It is less risky in the sense of, like Amy said, you've kind of fully committed when you've bought a house. You've invested a ton of time and energy and money. So when you're renting, yes, you're signing a year lease, but there are ways to optimize that time for yourself if your focus is to buy a long-term home, and there are ways that you can get out of that lease legally. So it is less risky.
Well, not only that, like if you're moving here, and there is a number of people who move here who have never been here.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And they're just thinking, like there's a number of people who move here who are just like, I love the idea of PEI. It looks fabulous.
Yeah.
And we saw this a lot during COVID.
Tons, yeah.
And we still see this now.
Even with this group, like so many of you are so kind of enamored by the island, but it's really a great thing to come and explore and get to know it.
Definitely. But there is a fair amount of risk involved with that.
That's right.
That maybe it's not the right place for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
Not every, and some people are just adventurous.
Yep, 100%.
We know people that are just like, hey, I moved here and, you know, I thought it might be for 1 to 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And then they stuck around for a lot longer.
My parents were those people. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's a fairly common way if folks have flexibility.
Yeah.
Like
but if you're renting,
Yeah.
then you have the option to just kind of pick up and leave whenever, you know, your island adventure is over.
That's right.
Right?
That's
You don't have to worry about selling and recouping your investment loss or
Exactly.
anything like that. Sorry, Kevin is at the door. He's ready to come in.
The other thing, it is less arduous than buying the home. We kind of talked about that. It's easier in towns to, like in our major cities throughout Summerside, Charlottetown, Montague, your larger communities are going to have a higher occupancy rate. Vacancy rate, sorry. And then
Greater supply.
and the province is continually building multi-unit buildings and trying to address a housing issue, which is another talk entirely.
I think we talked about this, was it last month, the increasing vacancy?
Exactly.
And we talked about maybe the average rental cost. I think that was last month.
100%. So it's easier in the towns to find rentals.
Definitely.
Yep.
I was actually, because of this and because of last month, I actually was just working on our rental guide a bit to kind of update that for 2026. So I am continuing to update that right now so that that is done. Had to step out so I could home for the bus, and of course this is just when like things are going crazy.
What's the other thing?
So yeah, I'm working on the rental guide.
Yeah, perfect. So good. So we'll update that. It establishes a residency. Okay, so for folks that are moving here on the island and you want to kind of step outside of the IRAC rules and regulations where you can only buy, without going through the policies that, going through IRAC applications, under 5 acres of land and then under 165 feet of waterfront. So if you're working inside those boundaries, then, but you still need to establish residency. So perhaps after, 12 months of the last 2 years you've lived here, then you can work outside of those parameters. If you want more than 5 acres, if you want a long waterfront. So it just allows you to establish residency here so that IRAC is no longer in your way of purchasing the kind of property you really, or obtaining more land.
Yeah. So you do have to be a resident for 12 out of the previous 24 months.
That's correct.
Yeah. So yeah.
So that doesn't include, like, they have to be consecutive months. So you can't leave for 6 months and then come back for 6 months and do that for a while. It has to be 12 consecutive months. But that is a great way to establish residency. And then that can sometimes coincide, just to bring up the rental lease again. If you're renting for a year lease is usually the practice here. And then after that, if all are in agreement, then a month-to-month arrangement can go in the place of a lease agreement for another year. So, but inside of that lease, if you were to decide you need to purchase a home, or you'd like to go through that process, then you can break your lease with 60 days notice.
30 days notice.
30 days notice.
If you're in a month to month.
If you're in a lease, it's 60 days. If you're in a month to month, it's 30 days.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
Okay. And then if you're moving here from, say, the States, because we do have a number of people, I don't know what's going on down there. That's making it so crazy. Must be something in the water. But if you're moving here from another country, per se, you wouldn't have credit necessarily in Canada to qualify you for a mortgage. So you need to build credit in Canada to help you qualify for a mortgage. So renting in Canada could be a good option to allow you to develop some credit history.
Yep.
That would then allow you to
get some pay stubs under your belt too, with a new business or a new occupancy or what do you call it? Job. Oh my God. Anyway, so yeah, those kinds of things are beneficial. You want to talk about the cons of renting?
Yeah. I know.
He's
Kevin,
whining
he's
for the
whining.
kids.
I know.
You can see him in the back. You see him down there? You see him? There's Kevin. All right, cons of renting. It's very difficult to rent.
It's not pet friendly.
Pet friendly.
It's not.
It is in the public, but in terms of renting and finding pet friendly rentals, it's just tough. It's not a pet friendly environment, unfortunately. Yeah.
So and that's the thing. We have pet friendly, like we have a distinction between whether or not you're allowed to have pets in a rental. Yeah. I know this is different from other provinces. I know we've talked about this before. So that's a big difference. We can designate whether you're allowed to have pets or not within within the context of the rental.
Exactly.
So most times, most landlords are just like, no.
Yeah. So, and every province is different. Like I remember I experienced as someone with pets, and you've experienced this the same way, but when I was renting in even Halifax, there was difficulty. Anyway, there are certain rules and regulations that different provinces have to adhere to when you're a landlord or a tenant.
Can you bring this up on your computer? Just because it's not updating, and I just want to make sure that we're not missing something on... My computer's being funny today. Like, it's not updating with people.
Oh.
I just want to make sure we're not missing something. Oh, my goodness. My notification. I don't know. I don't know. Apparently, everything else is updating, but not me.
Okay, here we go. Okay,
Yeah.
so
See?
Bernadette, hi. Yeah, no, but I think it's because you're in this
No, because
setup.
it still should update over here.
Well, hello, Bernadette. As always, we love your company. Thank you. Bernadette asks, is there an area that is up and coming with benefits to purchase in that area? Okay, so, you're talking about now benefits. Okay, up and coming areas, I think Montague is, and that surrounding Three Rivers area is a really nice kind of rural, but not too far from Charlottetown, Stratford, and even other eastern points of the island. I think Montague is doing some lovely things, and
They're supposed to get a new hospital too.
They're getting a new hospital. It's housing is affordable there, and they are on the water. So there's just a lot more land out there to have. So if you want to be, and it's also Montague, I will say, is kind of a service center for the Three Rivers region. So it has to be able to accommodate amenities to the surrounding areas. So
it has a lot of amenities like Access PEI, which is where you go to get like your car registered and stuff like that. It has. So here's kind of like my way that I describe services. It's like, does it have a McDonald's?
Oh my God.
Surrey does not have a McDonald's.
Oh, dear.
Right? Like
Montague does.
Montague has a McDonald's.
And she's such a good cook. I don't know why she's eating that crap.
No, because like I have kids. So like
That's fair.
if it's like if it's gonna be a thing, like if I have to pick out something for my kids, Surrey wouldn't work because Surrey doesn't have a McDonald's, right? So Montague has both a Sobeys and a Superstore. It has pharmacies.
Yep.
This is on our next thing.
It has parks. It has water. It's a beautiful area. So Bernadette, to answer your question and be concise, Montague, I think, is one of those areas that is really a lovely eastern central part of the island that's servicing, and you still get all that rural beauty. And then there's a couple questions that came up here. Mitzi, hi Mitzi, nice to see you. You had asked if rentals are actually
Hard to find.
hard to find. Yes and no. It really depends on what you're looking for. Rural, this was one of the cons list. Rural rentals can be a little more difficult to find.
If you're
Rentals with
looking for
pets.
like a rental that one again allows pets and then also is like a house on land.
That's
Those are a
more
little bit
rare.
harder to find. And again, if you're coming from away, the one thing that we do kind of recommend is that you go with a rental company or with like a property management company, because they're going to make sure that you're not getting scammed.
That's right.
In the rental guide, I do list the different places that rentals are posted often on Facebook, but there is like those ones again are like prime places to have scams show up.
Yep.
And we do see that a lot. And we do hear of people getting like almost getting scammed, or we do see like things that are scams.
Yep.
We do have like, so on the rental guide, there's the Facebook pages, and then there's a list of rental corporations like Killam, Capri, Vita Living. There's a whole list of them there that do have like rentals here on PEI. And then we do know of some property management companies that do have rentals that are throughout the island.
Yep, that's right.
So that's actually going to be something that I add. That's not in the rental guide.
That's great.
So I am going to
Got it.
add those. Red Sands Property Management. I think there's something called Emerald.
Yep, Emerald Isle. They're
And then-
reputable. They're mostly, they do a lot of vacation homes as
But
well.
I think they
but
do.
They do residential.
They do have some
Yeah,
residential,
absolutely.
and then East Coast Property Management.
That's right.
Is going to be the three that I'm going to add in there.
Mitzi says your rental guide is great, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Mitzi. Awesome. Sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to finish Bernadette's, and then Vivian has a great question here. Hi, Vivian. I've seen your posts, and welcome to the page. I think you're asking great questions, and I hope you're finding the resources you need to. Also, I'm going to send you a note after this and just kind of sum up a few things. But one thing that Bernadette asked about the crime in those areas that we were talking about earlier, crime is so low on the island. It's a safe place to be.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, like it's just so darn low. When we talk about crime on the island, it's like, it's an anomaly. So
I did hear about someone's car getting stolen the other night, and it was like, oh, that's so strange. Like I've actually like straight up left my keys in the car.
I know. And
overnight.
it's an
and I
anomaly.
live in West Royalty, and now someone's gonna come and like try and steal my car, probably because I just said this on the internet. I don't do it very often.
But it is true. Like when you talk about crime, it's very, very different and very much isolated cases here. We don't have like a culture of crime on the island.
It's
The same way that cities,
Yeah.
larger places do. So I wouldn't even, it's not even on the radar in terms of like, this town is crime filled and this town is really sketchy. And they're just, it's such an anomaly when it happens.
I think, and Bernadette, you're hearing about it on the radio, and I think that's just because it's like, oh my God, a crime happened. I don't know.
And that's exactly the reaction. Yeah, I know. And you know what? This is the thing too about news. News has to make things sensational. I think the more you get to know the island and the culture of the island, and it's not to say disregard it or live your life with a sense of naivete, but it's so much different than other parts of the world.
I think there is crime. Like I'm not going to say that there isn't. I think that as inflation is continuing to go up, we are going to see it more. I think that, but I do feel that it is kind of like we're trying not to hurt our neighbors too.
Yeah, we're trying real hard. Oh, here. So I'm just going to butt in here. So Vivian, you had a great question about missing the first few minutes. And what did you say about taking it longer? Was it the time for inspections?
So normally when you're buying, it takes a little bit longer just because like from the time that you start looking to when you actually buy the property, it can take several months.
It can go quickly too, but
it can,
but
depending
it really
on what you're looking for, where you're looking. Usually from when you make an offer until your offer's firm, it's about 2 to 3 weeks. Inspections can happen fairly quickly. We have a great inspector that we work with, and he can usually get into a house within like
few days,
depending on it. He's going to get a little bit busier now because the market's starting to pick up.
It's busy. But that said, like the firm date and the closing date are very different times, right? The firm date is when your conditions are due and you've scratched all your conditions, everyone's happy. It's officially sold, but it's not yours yet. So that closing date could be 2 months from the firm date. And that's the gap where it usually takes the longest. And that's when all the paperwork and the files go to the lawyers and they do a title search and it's kind of in their hands.
The mortgage has to go through all the mortgaging
yeah.
and the title search has to be done, and the lawyers have to do their lawyering, and the bankings have to do their banking.
And so that's really the gap where it can take the most time. The conditional period and the acceptance period can be a shorter window, like you say, 2 to 3 weeks. But then there's a longer window between the firm date and the closing. And that's really important to clarify because that's where things can take longer. That's all. But, you know, we're practiced in this field so much that we just have a sense of how there's a whole spectrum of how long that can take. So it's
we've had it go as short as, like, I mean, if everything's easy and lawyers can wrap it up in 3 weeks.
3 weeks, boom, there's your house. But other times it can take 6 months, and that's okay. We're working on a deal right now that's commercial based because commercial tends to take longer. And it's out of Stratford. And we actually started this deal last July and we're closing this May. So, you know, there's an example. But really, I wouldn't be too afraid of the process. It just is a longer process. So, so we are back to the cons. Okay, so a big one is, and I like the point that you made this, renting could be seen as throwing your money away or paying someone's mortgage. Yeah. So we always say that renting, the old adage is it's 100% interest, right? So, but it's less risky too. Like you can move whenever you need to. Also, in PEI, we do tend to have higher rents that could be very much the same as a mortgage. Yeah. Right. Yep. I know that if we were to rent this house that I live in, the rent on this house would be higher than my mortgage payment. So. But. So there's pros and cons. It really depends on lifestyle and your goals in life. I know I rented for over a decade because it just was the best lifestyle choice for us at the time. And now I own 3 properties and that's much different. So, you know, things alter and change. Yeah. All right. Scammers. So, yeah. And then, of course, and I know we've mentioned this, the con of renting is that there are scammers out there who are trying to scam you out of your money. Yeah. So, pros of buying is that you get to pick your property that you want and you get to obviously make it your property. It is obviously pet/animal friendly. Yeah. You can have, theoretically, if you're not living in town, you can have whatever animals you want. Yep. If you're living in town, then you are limited to the town bylaws. I am not allowed to have chickens. You can't even have chickens in town, but you go, 10 minutes that way and you can have chickens. You don't even need to go 10 minutes that way. You can go like across the road. Yeah, you can go 2 minutes that way and you can have chickens. So you could live here and have your chickens down the road, basically. But yeah, so when you come into, there are certain HOAs and there's certain covenants and stuff like that. We don't have a lot of HOAs, I'll say that. We do have a lot of subdivisions that have covenants. Yeah. And those covenants have restrictions. Yeah. We don't have a lot of HOAs. No, we're not like cities that have like crazy HOAs. No. And by the HOA reels on Instagram, they're so funny. So funny. And they should put some on this page actually. They really like reel us in, like, and then we're sitting there at like 9 o'clock at night sending each other HOA videos. Thank God we have to deal with that. So yeah, you can pick your own property. You can kind of dream. And for those of you who are creative and you want to dream, you can just, you get as close to that as possible. And it can be a really fun experience. Pet friendly. You're not having to move your family multiple times. You basically get to arrive and settle in. Yep. And start living your life, your island life, the way you want to. That's right. And then of course it is an investment. Yeah. Real estate is still very much a safe investment. Markets ebb and flow just like any market you're investing in, but you can think of it as well as a family home as well as an investment. So it's, it's a good one. The cons of buying is that of course there are expenses, and this is, as I know it's not Vancouver Island, but for what it used to be here on PEI, it's definitely gotten more expensive. If you're buying waterfront of more than 165 feet or buying more than 5 acres and you're moving from away, then you'll have to deal with an IRAC application. It does cost time and money. And then there is a lot more work to actually buying a property. So those are the cons to buying. Those are what we came up with. Time and money, more arduous. Yeah. please feel free to send more questions. We wanted to kind of make this one short and sweet because it's really subjective to your taste and
and what you're looking
and,
for and your timeline and your lifestyle,
your adventure. If you want to be here for 2 years, maybe just here's the other thing. Maybe you need a cottage. Maybe you need somewhere to come for 6 months or something.
Maybe you need just a property somewhere that you can Airbnb when you're not here.
Yeah. Yep.
Or maybe you need more of an investment property that you buy that can easily be rented out after you leave.
That's right. Yep. And so this all ties into like the reasons why we look for rentals versus purchasing. And we talked a little bit about back at the office, but I think we'll deep dive a little more into, do you want to talk about commute time and the reasons why we look for
so when you're kind of picking, we've kind of definition of shoreline. That is interesting. That comes up a lot, actually.
Definition of shoreline. Okay. Yeah. So for instance, I live on a little river out in the central part of the island called Breadalbane.
Yep, the Dunk River.
The Dunk River is on my property. I have about 10 acres and it flows through the property. Now that is not considered waterfront.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It has to do with being tidal.
Yep, it has to do with title search. And so it really, when it comes down to those questions, it's a shoreline is a public space, right? First and foremost, when we're talking about the shorelines of the island, we're talking about public space. And
we will have to come back to you on that one, Vivian, because every time I look it up, there's
a different gray area.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've been very clear on the definition, and then somebody else has come back and said, but I had to do it for this property, and that property didn't meet the definition that I had, and I'm like, mind blown.
We actually had this question come up recently, Vivian, with a listing we were asked to do, and it's a lot, and there was a real gray area in whether or not it was
been escalated up to the lawyers of the association.
So here's an example of where things can get really gray, and sometimes, it's hard to define. So we'll come back to that, Vivian, and if you want to send us, if you have any more follow-up to that, I'm curious where that came from, just send us a message.
Yeah, with the definition of what constitutes the shoreline. Yes, I know.
Exactly.
Yes.
Shoreline technically in its terminology here refers to the ocean.
But along a river that is also tidal, tidal, Tidal.
Not title.
Yeah. That also gets incorporated into it as well. But how tidal, that's another thing. How do you determine how tidal something is?
That's right. So great question.
So determining where on PEI you want to be is the next part of this. A big thing that I've noticed about people is how much they're willing to commute when they come to PEI. And this is always like something that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, I commute like an hour and a half now. So I'd be willing to commute an hour. Like, that's so much easier.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in Mitzi, I think we had this conversation. You're in California, and we talked about commuting here versus where you're at, and it's a very different environment. I know when I lived in Toronto, commuting half an hour meant that you get the next few city blocks over. Versus here, you can live in half an hour out of your central core Charlottetown and you could be on the ocean. You could be anywhere.
Yeah.
So the commute time is very subjective here.
Yeah. And if you're willing to be an hour from Charlottetown, then you're willing to be well past Summerside, right?
Yeah. Or further east.
Or like all the way up to like East Point.
Surrey, Georgetown, those are kind of an hour and a bit away.
But the thing is like the whole point of moving here is that you don't have to be that far away.
Yeah, exactly.
And what we've kind of seen is that like people who are that far away, they actually don't want to be that far away necessarily after a while. Yeah. They actually would like to be closer. Well,
the nice thing about here is that you don't have to live right in town to experience town or be close to amenities. So,
but you also don't have to be an hour away.
No, you really don't. No.
Like being an hour away is actually really far away.
But here, 10 minutes out of town, that'll do you. 20 minutes out of town, that'll happen.
Yeah.
That's easy. Can I just acknowledge here that Mitzi said, I know we talked about this in our call, but remind me of the timelines of having a house built. Are there good, reputable builders on the island? Heard there was some pretty long wait lists and some really good ones. Okay, great question. And Mitzi, we can talk about this in further detail when we have our next chat. And I know that this is something that I've seen come up on the page where people are talking about building versus buying something used or however. So wait times can really depends on the season. So this right now is getting into the busier season. Contractors and builders have had this list of building homes since the winter, kind of dead of winter, and they're starting in the spring. This is their busy season right until the snow flies, essentially. So major projects, it depends on when you start that conversation and start your contracting out. It can take 4 months, it can take a year. So it can be a wide scope. It really depends on the time of year that you tackle that undertaking. And there are great builders here. There's some crap builders and there's some great builders. It really depends on what you want to buy or what you want to build and what you want to spend and your timeline. So we can chat further about that as well. That's a good one maybe to tackle with a whole other conversation.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my big thing here is like commute time. It's like a lot of people want to move here because they want to have more time with their family.
Totally.
Especially when you're talking about getting away from the city and getting away from the commute time. It's like, yes, you can drive that far, but isn't the whole point about not having to drive that far anymore?
Totally, yeah.
And having that time at home with your family?
Well, it's quality of life. That's the question, really.
Yeah. And if you don't have to spend that time in the car away from them, then don't do it.
Go play outside. Go to the water. Go garden. Friggin'.
I know that access to healthcare is a big thing. So when you're planning potentially where to look, there are 3 hospitals on PEI. The Prince County Hospital is in Summerside, and it's kind of on the north side of Summerside, on the Miscouche side. So Miscouche is spelled Miscouch. Miscouche. So that's up there. So that's
serving the western side of the island.
Yeah, it's on that is the western end hospital.
Yep.
And they actually have what I've heard is a lovely maternity ward. Ooh. So if you're having a baby,
go to Summerside.
Go to the western end.
That's fun.
Because it's a newer hospital.
Oh yeah, they got it all. QEH.
The QEH in Charlottetown, and I believe that's where the dialysis and the cancer center is.
That's right.
So, just in case you need to know.
And
then there's the Kings County Memorial Hospital. And they have an ER that is only open from 8 to 8, Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
Staff dependent.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So that is up in Montague.
Yeah. Now, that said, they are upgrading their facilities in Montague. There is a new hospital coming in. And so that emergency care profile will change as well. There's a lot of incentives to capture and hold healthcare students and graduates, as well as a lot of what do they call locum doctors and nurses as well. So it's ever growing, it's ever changing. It is an issue that the province has kind of committed to a long-term addressing. But yeah, so as you just wrap up, the Prince County has a great maternity ward. And some really new facilities. Queen Elizabeth Hospital is...
Oh, I think they have a good women's clinic too. I have heard that.
Ooh,
yeah.
That's great. Good to know. And then there are other clinics and along lines with these now for sexual health and women's health. There's Shores, this is sexual health.
Obstetrics
Resource Center. And they cover everything from pregnancy, family planning, abortion, menopause, sexual health across the board. So Shores is an excellent resource on the island. It is a self-referral system, so sometimes those waits, as someone who self-referred myself, you can wait 6 to 8 months. So just be mindful that there are also adult ADHD clinics here that are opening up as a resource. They also have long waits.
Ooh, there was like a health announcement coming out today. Yeah.
And recently the island had 12 healthcare graduates stay on the island.
For nurse practitioners.
That's right.
Yes.
So nurse practitioners also on the island, in lieu of family doctors, are taking on more responsibilities, as well as pharmacists. So if you don't have a family doctor necessarily, you could be assigned a nurse practitioner to take care of your medical profile for continuity of care. So that's something the province is also doing. So yeah, there should be a new announcement today. Yeah.
If you're looking at where to go, I've said this, I know a lot. I really like the small rural schools when it comes to like the elementary schools. But those rural schools do have challenges when it comes to especially like after school care.
Yeah.
I know like my niece is out at what's the one in Crapo?
Oh, Englewood?
Yeah.
I went to Englewood.
And she doesn't have, like, they don't have any after school care.
They don't.
Their after school care at the school shut down. So that's a real struggle for all of those parents that are at that school. So after school care can be a really big struggle. Childcare, again, is always a struggle. And then.
And I think that's part of what.
And summer.
And summer childcare, camps, day camps, things like that. There are more. Again, alongside with healthcare, they're trying to kind of, help. They're almost under an umbrella, like they're addressing childcare and healthcare because a lot of healthcare professionals need childcare. Aren't they kind of moving? No? Okay. Never mind.
Sorry.
I thought I was going to go somewhere with that.
We're all a little jaded right now about our government.
That said, there are resources here and programs that are here and useful that aren't always apparent, the same way that hospitals and doctor clinics and walk-in clinics are. So you just kind of have to be open-minded about how you can get continual care here.
Yeah,
business opportunity, indeed,
sure.
Missy. Yeah. Actually, we have a client who's opening a healthcare facility or a child care facility in Stratford. Which is great. So much needed.
Yeah. And then for things like social activities, there is pretty much a hockey league in every in every town. Hockey is continuing to be a major hub for all communities. But there's other activities and sports that are always available. Social networks. And there's something actually that's really popular here. It's called Community School. And they have different schools, like evening school, community school programs.
That's right.
And it's really popular, and they do it throughout the province. And it's very, very popular. And they offer courses in like all crazy different things,
Everything.
like knitting, line dancing, photography, like languages. It's like crazy.
Pretty cool.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Like baking, sourdough, like it's insane. But yeah, so there's lots of options and ways to
be involved in the community.
Well,
this is it. I mean, my little community, there are 200 houses in the community I live in. It's also smack dab in the middle of Charlottetown and Summerside. It's North Shore and South Shore is 20 minutes in each direction. So we're at the most central point of the island. Now, our tiny little community of Breadalbin has a community center. And wouldn't you know it, we have arts. We have an art gallery, we have art talks, we have music for kids, we have a library, we have Christmas festivities, we have concerts, we have a seed and plant trade and exchange tomorrow.
One thing that you'll find is that the community centers in these small communities are still very active.
Very active.
And they're very much still the hub of the community.
Well, there are committees to join. I'm part of 2 committees in my little tiny community. And what a great way to get to know the people that you live around. The older generation, yourself, and younger. So, and it just keeps things vibrant. So one thing I'll say about small island communities is you're going to find people. You'll find your people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love my little town.
I know you do.
It's so good. I love it out there. Come live in Breadalbin.
Yeah. So the thing that I would say is like, know the level of amenities that the towns have.
Yep. And we're here for you too. If you have
we'll
questions.
tell you the level of amenities based on the McDonald's to
childcare.
Based on the McDonald's scale.
And it has a good garden center. Hey, Mitzi. Yeah.
Yeah. The
So-
number of stoplights.
Traffic.
Surrey has no McDonald's and no stoplights.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Bernadette even said 4 people at a stop sign is a traffic jam in some places. It's
Yeah,
true.
seriously.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's
Hunter
true.
River has no McDonald's, but it has a seasonal stoplight.
Oh, it has a seasonal stoplight, and right next to it is a seasonal ice cream stop. Oh,
Are they
it's
open yet?
Sprinkles? No, they're not
Oh,
open yet.
because
It's the best.
what's the scoop in Stratford's open now? Yeah, I know.
That's right. I did. I got an ice cream there the other day.
Did you?
I did a chocolate dip. It was so good.
Breadalbane. Breadalbane. is the
Fred
other-
Albane. Yeah, Mitzi, come live next to us. There's a great little community. So Islanders always joke. Breadalbane is pronounced Breadalbane, but we always go, is it Breadalbane?
Breadalbane.
Breadalbane. It's fun. It's a great little town. I love it. And it's not far, like 25 minutes to Summerside. It's close to Kensington, which is another great little town. Kincora, that's awesome.
No McDonald's in Kensington, but there is a stoplight and there is a subway.
There's a subway. And
There's a
Tim Hortons.
subway.
Yeah.
And a Kent. Mm-hmm. Oh, and a really good bakery.
Great bakery and 2 great restaurants. There's another cafe across the street from the bakery I have to take you to sometime.
Oh, I saw that. Is that
It's
the bagel one?
awesome. It's fantastic. It's a guy from Montreal that opened this.
That's the bagel place.
Yeah, but it's not called bagel. Yeah, and that's an only stop sign going one way. I know.
Yeah, I know.
Oh
Oh,
god.
and they have the frosty treat.
Oh, they do have a frosty treat.
So
And
good.
Kincora next to us has a really great garden center. Like, it's just awesome.
And also a really good ice cream place.
It's true. It's true.
By the way, we
Ice
know
cream
all
and
the
gardening.
good
Ice cream
places.
shops. You let us know where you're going, and we're going to tell you where the best ice cream is.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and if we haven't been there, then we'll go try out
Yeah,
the
we'll
ice
try
cream
on your
place.
behalf. We'll report back. No problem. It's our favorite part of the job. Oh dear.
Yeah.
And Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Vivian. I know.
Yeah.
So many Tim Hortons. But you know what? Listen, Tim Hortons is like a iconic island place. But I don't drink the stuff.
I don't either.
But
I'll
you
eat
know
the
what?
ice cream.
I'll get a donut once in a while.
Yeah. So that's gonna be all we have time for today. We have to go because my kids are gonna be busting through the door
Oh,
here.
that's right.
Yeah. Ice cream, gardening, and
McDonald's.
McDonald's. Yeah. Unfortunately.
Oh, dear.
I got to get the Happy Meals for the kids, unfortunately.
Listen.
Yeah.
Listen, if anyone has questions for us, if you want to just send a direct message, we're happy to just chit chat along the way. We know some of you are in flux and you're still planning ahead your next moves and curiosities. And we love connecting with all of you. It's really fantastic. So thanks for participating in the page. This is more so about community and less so about us selling you our real estate services, but we're here for that as well.
All right, guys. We'll chat soon. And
Thanks, Mitzi. Thanks, Bernadette. Thanks, Vivian. Thanks, everybody.
bye,
You guys are great.
guys.
Have fun.